Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of The Sauce. These are Thursday night FBS games. I'm recording them before the Wednesday night game, so I don't know how we did last night yet. Tuesday, I went 1-1, split even. Lost a few dollars because I bet Northern Illinois slightly heavier than the under in the Toledo game, but basically break even. We got 3 games here, all in different conferences. Let's go.
Welcome to The Sauce. The Sauce. Sauce. Hey, get the sauce.
First up, we got a Thursday night Big 12 game here. TCU on the road in Lubbock to play Texas Tech. Red Raiders laying 3 points at home. All the 2.5s are gone. There were 2.5s, but I'm seeing 3s across the board now. Total sitting at 59.5. So everyone was all over TCU early in this one, but it seems like the public has evened out. Maybe even slightly leaning Texas Tech now. Money's still heavily leaning towards TCU. As far as matchup history, Texas Tech has struggled against these guys. They're currently on a 4-game losing streak against TCU. You got to go all the way back to 2019 to find the last time Texas Tech even came within 1 score of the Horned Frogs. I haven't seen any updates on the Chandler Morris injury, so I'm going to assume that Josh Hoover is going to be at quarterback again for TCU. And the fact that this game's on the road in Lubbock is a bad start for the Horned Frogs. He's made 3 starts this season, 2 on the road, 1 at home. The 2 road starts were pretty terrible. Just 153 yards per game in the 2 road games, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, passer rating at just 85. These are terrible numbers. Now, it could be the fact that those 2 games were against Iowa State and Kansas State, 2 defenses that are starting to look pretty good, but Texas Tech has a good defense themselves. The Red Raiders defensively are rated 34th overall defensively according to Beta Rank, 51st in effective rush and 31st in effective pass. And we know historically, on the road in Lubbock, Texas isn't the nicest environment to go play for a freshman quarterback making his 4th career start. I know if you take a quick glance, you can see that Texas Tech actually lost their last home game 38-21. But that was against Kansas State, who's miles better than TCU. We just saw it. They blew TCU out. And also, Texas Tech actually outgained Kansas State 480-435 in that game. And another thing about that game, Baron Morton got hurt. Texas Tech had to bring in their 3rd-string quarterback, who's a freshman, and they were actually winning that game in the second half. The fact that they had to bring in a freshman quarterback and the turnovers, that's what cost Texas Tech in that game. But it's not so much the final score of the Kansas State game that worries me. It's the Kansas State rushing numbers. 47 carries for 272 yards on the ground, 5.8 yards per carry. Now, Kansas State's rushing attack is way better than TCU's, but TCU is capable of running the ball. So I'm sure we're going to see the Horned Frogs move the ball a bit in this game. On the other side of the ball, it looks like Texas Tech is going to have Baron Morton back at quarterback, which is huge. He's not Tyler Shuck, but still, we've seen this Red Raider offense look very dangerous with him at quarterback. He led them to back-to-back blowout wins over Houston and Baylor before getting hurt in the Kansas State game. And then you add in the fact that Iowa State had 0 problems running the ball in this TCU defense. Cyclones ran the ball 37 times for 215 yards, 5.8 yards per carry. Iowa State's been struggling to run the ball pretty much this whole season. Seems like there's a lot of people out there that like TCU in this spot. Look, I don't love the idea of laying the full 3. I wish I got in at 2.5, but I like Texas Tech. I think that's the right side to be on. I doubt it moves to 3.5, but I also doubt it moves back down to 2.5, so I'll take it at 3. Give me Texas Tech -3 next game. Next up, we got some ACC on Thursday night. Wake Forest on the road in Durham to play Duke. Duke laying 12.5 points at home, total sitting at 44. This one looks like it's setting up to be a pros versus public. Public's definitely laying the points with Duke. Sharp Action seems to be taking the points with Wake Forest. So let's match these 2 teams up on the field. Wake obviously got absolutely shut down last week against the Noles, held to just 16 points, 210 total yards, 5.1 yards per pass attempt, and 2.6 yards per carry. Offense did next to nothing in that game. And this is starting to become a pattern for Wake Forest offensively. In the last 4 games, they're averaging just 15.6 points per game and 258 yards per game. We don't even 100% know who the quarterback is. Mitch Griffis got hurt. The backup started the Pittsburgh game. They actually won that game, 21-17. Then that guy got hurt. Mitch Griffis came back, but he split offensive snaps with the 3rd string last week in the Florida State game. Kind of tough to follow this quarterback drama in Wake Forest right now. And things aren't going to get any easier because Duke's defense is right up there on the same level as Florida State's. Maybe not quite as elite, but this Duke defense is good. They're 17th overall defensively according to Beta Rank, 34th in effective rush, and 5th in effective pass. And the Florida State game was at home. Now they got to go on the road to Durham, and Duke's defense has been good as hell at home. Their last 2 home games were against NC State and Notre Dame. The defense was great in both of them, just 12 points per game and 343 yards per game. I don't have a ton of hope for Wake Forest offensively in this one. But on the other side of the ball, I just don't know how much I can trust this Duke offense right now. Riley Leonard, as we know, is a quarterback that heavily relies on his legs. That entire Duke offense revolves around Riley Leonard being mobile. And we just don't know how healthy he is on that ankle right now. Duke's offense hasn't put together a good game since UConn in week 4. That was September 23rd. I mean, we're talking well over a month ago. A positive angle for Duke's offense would be they've had a very tough stretch of schedule as far as the defenses they've seen. And the Wake Forest defense should be kind of a breath of fresh air for the Duke offense. They also match up well on paper against the Demon Deacons defense. Wake's 54th overall defensively according to Beta Rank. So the defense isn't terrible, but they've been a lot better against the pass. 29th in effective pass, 91st in effective rush. I mean, so on paper, Duke should run the ball all over Wake Forest. But in my opinion, with Riley Leonard's ankle a big question mark, I think Wake Forest has a lot of flexibility as far as play calling on the defensive side. If they load the box and force Riley Leonard to be the guy and win this game by himself, Duke probably still wins, but I don't know if they cover this number. So I'm leaning towards Wake in this one. I don't want to say they're a live dog. I mean, they're on the road at Duke. That defense is really good. But this is a rivalry game, and I'd rather have the points. So I'm betting Wake Forest plus 12.5 in this one next game. And last but not least, well, probably least, we're talking Sunbelt here. South Alabama on the road at Troy. Troy laying 5.5 points at home, which is down from 6.5. Total sitting at 45.5. So all those South Alabama plus 6.5 tickets got bought up quickly. Early action came in on USA and dropped the line down to 5.5. Action seems to have evened out now. It's coming in about 50-50 at 5.5. As far as head-to-head history, South Alabama has struggled against the Trojans. They've lost 5 in a row to these guys. You got to go all the way back to 2017 to find the last time South Alabama beat Troy. As far as matching these two teams up on the field, we really need to start putting some respect on the Trojans defense. They started off with a rough one. They gave up 42 points to Kansas State back in week 2. But since then, they've been locked down. Beta Rank's got Troy's the 7th best defense in the FBS, 10th in effective rush, 11th in effective pass. Check this out. In their last 6 games, we're talking 6 games. This is half a season, so this is a solid sample size. Troy is allowing just 10.5 points per game and 295 yards per game. Nobody's scoring on Troy right now. And I mean, yes, they haven't played a ton of explosive offenses in there, but they did play James Madison. Troy defense held James Madison to just 16 points on 290 total yards, 2.3 yards per carry on the ground. So yeah, they may have played some poor offenses in recent weeks, but this is an impressive defensive performance here against James Madison, who we know was good. And it was at home, which is where this game is against South Alabama. Now, the South Alabama offense is normally not a unit we can sleep on. If you look at their beta ranks on the season, 20th overall, 39th in effective rush, 24th in effective pass. This is a dangerous offense. The reason this week might be a little different, quarterback Carter Bradley suffered a knee injury at the end of the Louisiana game, and I'm not even sure if he's going to play. He was helped off the field, and he's been great this year for the Jags offense, completing over 65% of his passes, 270 pass yards per game, a 148 passer rating. The backup quarterback is a freshman who has just 15 career pass attempts under his belt, all at the end of blowout games. If he's going to start this game on the road against a Troy defense that's allowing 10.5 points per game, I mean, I just don't see how we can possibly put our money on South Alabama here. On the other side of the ball, USA's defense is definitely solid, but they haven't really seen any legitimate pass attacks. The only good passing offense they've seen this year is Tulane all the way back in week 1, and Michael Pratt had the easiest game of his life. 14 of 15, 294 yards, 4 touchdowns, a 346 passer rating, which I believe is a perfect score in college football. I'm not saying I expect Troy to light South Alabama up, but Troy likes to throw the ball, and I think they'll be able to. I expect them to get the ball up and down the field. And if South Alabama is rolling into this game with a freshman quarterback that only has 15 career pass attempts, you got to think Troy's the correct side here. So I'm down to lay the points. Give me Troy minus 5.5. If you want our top bets for all sports, parlays of the day, if you want to join our Discord, anything like that, head over to KyleKirms.com. The information is right there on the homepage. College football week 10. We got 3 FBS games and an NFL game for Thursday night. Let's have ourselves a good one. Remember to bet responsibly, and I'll talk to you in the Discord.